Hi everyone, welcome to the channel, or welcome back if you're a returning watcher. I'm George, I'm the Good Lad Gamer, and today we're pulling Sacred Shards for the Jeroboam Fusion. I pulled Void Shards last week and we got pretty lucky, we got some nice Legendaries out of it, but today I'm going to be pulling 7 Sacred Shards on each of my 2 completely free-to-play accounts. And we'll be doing this, instead of a summon rush, we're going to be going for points within the Heroes Path event. For me, I think the Heroes Path event looks like it's a mix between a summon rush and a Dungeon Divers event. You can get points in it for pulling artifacts and for pulling champions, for pulling the different types of shards. So I'm just going to be doing what I normally do for every fusion or fragment, which is pulling 7 Sacred Shards for the summon rush event. And just before we get into pulling those shards, guys, I just want to say, if you enjoy my content and want to see more of it, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Subscribing makes a huge amount of difference to me, and I got some really good reception on my last video, so I really want to keep up that momentum going. I've got about 250 subscribers, and my big goal, my big aim is for 300 subscribers. With 300 subscribers, I know that I'm making content that people actually enjoy and want to see more of. So if you like the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into pulling these sacreds. And here we are on the Kale account. I'll go into the Heroes Path and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So we've got the normal fragments in here, plus other big rewards. So I'm going to be going down this path, but to do so I need keys, which means going out of one of the sort of outer paths. I'm not going to go for the blessings. I'm not too interested in them. I'm just going to do the sort of minimum that I need for getting the fragment. I can deal with blessings later on if I need to. And here you can see the sort of point scheme. So we've got legendary 6 stars at 51. I normally farm dungeons at level 20, so the minimum you can get at level 20 in any of the dungeons is a 5-star, so I'm looking at sort of 26 points per run, and if you double up, it's 52 points per run, so hopefully I should be able to get some good points from that, and I'm going to be pulling the 7 Sacreds. I can't do the math on that, but we'll be pulling 7 Sacreds, and hopefully that will be enough points. And I guess they've probably based it around a normal Dungeon Divers event, which you need sort of 3,700 points in a Dungeon Diver to get the sort of reward that you're looking for, to get the fragments that I'm looking for in particular. So that is the Heroes Path, and I guess there isn't much else to say. There is a progressive chance of pulling one of these bad boys. I'm going to go for Nut, or Newt, whatever we're going to call him. He's a fantastic, absolutely outrageously good champion. If I could get a dupe on either of my accounts, I absolutely want him. And I'm going to go for a Geomancer. I'm going to do the same on both of my accounts. Geomancer is a legendary in an epic skin, and I could always do with more Geomancers. So without much more to say, let's get into pulling these shards. So, Sacred Shard, number 1. We got 2 legendaries on one of my account and none on the other in my Void Shard pool. I pulled over 200 Voids, and I only got 2 legendaries out of it. So, I'm pretty salty about that. I am looking for some legendaries out of this, for sure. For sure, without a doubt. We got Claude. I didn't even see who was the first person we pulled. She was an epic. I was not interested. And another epic on the 2nd Sacred. And on the 3rd, we've got an allure though, an allure I will be using to enhance my current allures. I use her in quite a lot of content for decreasing turn meter, so she's a good champion to have around. If you've got an allure and you're not using her, then I would recommend building her out. She is quite squishy though, so you need to build her with quite a lot of accuracy for her skill and quite a lot of survivability. And we got an Adriel. Yeah, Adriel. Another epic though, not interested. I feel like, oh, there we go. We got a legendary, and it's a Corvus. That's the 2nd Corvus I've got recently, actually. I will go through his kit, but if you guys don't want to listen to me go through this again, because I've already been through it recently, you can skip on and see what's coming up next. Let me get familiar with his kit, and then I'll go through it with you guys. Corvus's kit is pretty simple. I think, I could probably read it out without getting too tongue-tied. I will no doubt get tongue-tied though, so you'll have to bear with me, watchers, because I can't read out loud. Corvus is my favourite champion. He's my favourite champion. He might not be that good. He might not be the most used champion in the game, but his skin is everything to me. I love the way Corvus looks. I think he is the best looking champion in the game. Personally, I think he looks incredible. I love that sort of medieval / plague doctor look that he's got going on, and his skills are all based around poisons, so it makes sense why he's got that mask on. I don't think they were particularly around in medieval times, but we'll go with it because he looks cool. So, Corvus is A1, attacks one enemy, has a 40% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack for 2 turns. On his A2, attacks all enemies 2 times. The first hit increases the duration of all enemy debuffs by 1. The second hit increases the duration of all ally buffs by 1. On his A3, attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 75% chance of placing 2 big poisons for 2 turns. After attacking, places a poison sensitivity debuff on the enemy for for enemies under 2 or more poisons. And then on his passive, decreases the damage enemies under poison inflict 5% less damage per poison debuff, stacks up to 25%, and he has a defense in all battles by 30%. My favourite champion. Without a doubt, he's my favourite champion. I think he looks incredible. I think he looks so good. If I was to ever get into cosplay or anything like that, I would absolutely cosplay this guy because he looks sick. Anyway, moving on. We've got 1 legendary. I'm going to be pulling 14 sacreds and we've got 1 legendary. So I'll take that as a bit of a win. We've got a Skull Crusher. Skull Crusher, the only epic that does an unkillable that can be used in a clan boss setup. So if you pull him, use him if you don't have an unkillable team, because unkillables, it's just the easy way of doing clan boss. But moving on, not interested in epics. Is this the last one? Maybe we've got 2 more. And another legendary. Let's go. A Crypt King growl. Let me see his kit. It's a simple one, but I will read through it quickly and I will go through it with you guys. So I don't like the way the Crypt King looks quite as much as I like how Corvus looks, but he is a cool looking champion. This game, I mean, the raid team and the sort of Polarian team, they do make good skins, don't they? They just do. They're just cool, and like the level of detail in these is someone else. Anyway, Crypt King growl. So on his A1, attacks 1 enemy. Places a 60% chance, has a 60% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. Has a 100% chance instead if the target is under HP burn or freeze. On his A2, attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a HP burn for 2 turns. And then on his A3, when ascended, attacks all enemies, places a freeze debuff for 1 turn and a HP burn debuff for 3 turns on a target already under HP burn. The HP burn effect cannot be resisted. So I guess the order of his turns should be A2 into A3, and then the HP burn is extended and he freezes an enemy. And is it him who's a bit of a menace in Faction Wars? I think he is. I really struggled with this guy thinking in Faction Wars. And then on his aura, increases ally HP in all battles by 33%. So that's 2 legendaries out of 14 sacreds. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And that is the last one. That is number 7 on the Kale account. And what I'll do, guys, I'll go over to the Galek account and we'll do exactly the same over there. And here we are on the Galek account. We're going to do exactly the same. We're going to go for a nut. We're going to go for nut. And we're going to go for Geomancer. Just exactly the same as on the other account. I've got exactly 7 slots available. So let's go. Hopefully 2 more legendaries. 2 more legendaries. I think I class it as the luck resets on each of my accounts. That's how I see things. It might not work like that because it's a percentage chance of putting legendaries full stop. But the luck's got to change, right? Because I've got 2 accounts. That's why I have 2 accounts. So I can pull champions on both accounts because it's exciting. Anyway, a Knight Errant. Moving on. No epics, please. And a legendary straight out the gate. Oh, hey, Sathalia. Excellent. Now, I think Sathalia does have a bit of a wordy one. Let me go through her kit and I'll talk you guys through it. Right, I barely read through it, so let's just go. If I get tongue-tied, you guys are just going to have to bear with it. On her A1, attacks 1 enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a HP burn for 2 turns. Honor A2, when ascended, removes all debuffs from a target ally, then places a block debuffs buff for 2 turns and heals that ally by 70% of their max HP, heals all other allies by 20% of their max HP, and fills their turn meter by 15% if the target is fully healed by this skill. And Honor A3 has a 75% chance of removing all buffs from all allies. Nope. Has a 75% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies, then decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 10% and fills the turn meter of all allies by 10%. Decreases the turn meter of all allies by 20%. Decreases the turn meter of all enemies, not allies, by 20% and fills the turn meter of all allies by 20% if 5 or more buffs were removed. Told you I'd get tongue-tied. And then she has a magic ally resist increase by 50. Resistance increase by 50 for allies. Anyway, again, a really good detailed champion, but not as cool as Corvus. I don't think anyone compares to Corvus in my eyes. And a pretty simple kit, but again, a bit of a menace. In Faction Wars in particular, I've really struggled with Cephalia's. So, moving on. Let's hope we can get one more Legendary out of it. If I can get 2 on both accounts, that's even. And I'm happy. I like to be even. I like to keep both of my accounts at sort of the same stage. I try not to let one of them get away from the other. So, 2 Legendaries. It's sort of got to be done, hasn't it? To keep it sort of balanced. Well balanced, like the world should be. We got a Drake. Moving on though, Drake. Not interested. And I think, is this the last one? And we got the Legendary. And we got a nut! Look at that! The actual progression charts actually worked. He is my most sought after champion after Corvus just because he is ridiculous. And if I can build him right, I might be doing spider runs in seconds. I'm doing them pretty quickly anyway, but I will be doing them very, very quickly. I do have him already on both of my accounts, so he is a dupe, and I will absolutely be using him. And does he have a wordy kit? Not particularly, but I will be right back, and I'll go for his kit with you guys. Okay, we've got Nut. Are we calling him Nut? That is how it's meant to be said, right? It's a silent G. I'm going to go with it. Or Newt, I think some people were calling him. I'm going to call him Nut. Anyway. On his A1, attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has an 80% chance of decreasing the enemy's turn meter by 15%. If the target's turn meter is not decreased, each hit has an 80% chance, 100 when booked, of placing a freeze debuff on the target for 1 turn instead. So he has a 100% chance of placing freeze for every of the 3 hits he does. Makes him really good for hard Fire Knight. And I've got 2 of them. On his A2, attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff and a 25% weaken debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Also places a counter attack buff on this champion for 2 turns. And then this is his big boy move, this is what he's known for. Attacks one enemy 3 times, each hit decreases the target's defense by 3%, stacks up to 30. Each hit also heals this champion by 30% of the damage dealt. So I'm not too interested in these bits, it's this bit that's interesting. He is based on defense and enemy max HP, so he can absolutely smack like your Cold Hearts or your Royal Knights or your Septimus, but he does it in 3 hits, and he hits so hard. And then on his passive, when counter-attacking, deals 100% of damage instead of 75. So, I mean, I'm not too interested in the damage dealt on his A1. I don't really build him for his damage dealt on his A1. But it's always nice to have, just a little bit of extra damage. And then he has ally accuracy increased by 80 in dungeons. So, for Legendaries, have we got any more room? We've got 2 more Sacreds to pull. Can I get another one? Is that outrageous? Outrageous to say. A Knight Errant again. Get out the way. And a Legendary. It was an epic. We got the Geomancer though. So we got a Nut and we got a Geomancer on the Galek account. Let's just say the Galek account has suddenly propelled forward compared to the Kale account. So I am pretty happy with that. And I guess we'll go in and look at the hero path points I've got. I've got 31,000 points. I don't know how far that's going to take me because I need to get these keys. I'm not doing the math. I'm not going to do the math. I'm just going to wing it, and then I'm going to do the equivalent of a Dungeon Divers event and Champion Training event, because the Champion Training event is on, and the Dungeon Divers event is instead. This is instead of that. So I'm just gonna keep doing the events, and you would like to think the makers of the game would have worked it out so that we sort of earn the equivalent amount of points, right? You would hope that, right? Anyway, 4 legendaries, 14 sacreds. Pretty cool. Alright guys, 14 sacreds. I got 4 legendaries out of it. I got 2 on each of my accounts, and as I said in the video, I do like to keep my accounts balanced. The Galek account has suddenly just propelled forward with having a second nut in my roster, because he is a great champion and really good for my dungeon running. It's going to make my farm in dungeons really quick, hopefully, if I can build the teams around having 2 of them. But I will take 4 legendaries out of 14 sacreds with no ×2. That is pretty good, and it's pretty against the odds, so I am pretty happy with that. As always, please let me know if you pulled any champions, if you got any good ones or game-changing champions out of this pull, or if you're even pulling a tool. Maybe I might be able to help you, maybe I might be able to give you some advice on the champions that you've got, but I always like to know just so I can give you a congratulations, you know, a congratulations, because who doesn't want that when you pull one of the best champions in the game, or the champion that you're looking for the most? I've now got a Corvus on both of my accounts, and I'm pretty buzzing about that, you know? Forget the nut, forget the Crypt King, forget the Cephalia. It's all about Corvus, even though he's not in any of my teams. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It makes a huge amount of difference to me. Hopefully you guys got some good champions out of this one. Please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.